In the chaos that followed World War II, one train slipped through history and was never seen again. Train number 5717 departed from the ruins of Königsberg, heading for Moscow. On board, dozens of captured German officers, crates of looted materials, and strict Soviet guards. It was supposed to be a routine military convoy, but somewhere between East Prussia and Soviet Russia, it vanished. No wreckage, no survivors, no records, just silence. What happened to this ghost train of Stalin's empire? Let's uncover the story that Soviet officials never wanted the world to hear. On the evening of June 18, 1945, in the heavily bombed-out rail yards of Königsberg, modern-day Kaliningrad, Soviet military train number 5717 was prepared for departure. The war in Europe had ended just a month prior, and Soviet operations were shifting from battlefield campaigns to logistics, recovery, and, most controversially, extraction. Train number 5717 was part of that effort. According to surviving manifests and recollections from Soviet personnel, it carried 72 German prisoners of war, mostly high-ranking Wehrmacht and SS officers. Several sealed wagons marked special cargo, believed to contain art, documents, and industrial materials taken from Nazi depots. Guards from Smersh, the Soviet military counterintelligence agency. A small crew of Soviet railway workers tasked with the three-day journey. The train departed at 22:05 with direct orders to proceed to Moscow without stops, avoiding major public stations. It never made it. Train number 5717 was scheduled to arrive at the outskirts of Moscow by the morning of June 21st. But on that day, nothing arrived. No telegraph, no confirmation from stations, just silence. The Soviet military command in Moscow issued a standard delay inquiry. The first assumption was sabotage or mechanical failure, both common in the chaotic post-war zone. But what followed was strange. Not a single station between Königsberg and Moscow could confirm seeing train 5717 pass. Even more disturbing, no wreckage was ever found. At the time, the rail line passed through Belarusian and Lithuanian territories, still unstable after years of partisan warfare. But a train with dozens of passengers, cargo wagons, and military presence disappearing without any trace? That was unprecedented. Officially, train 5717 never existed. In 1991, after the fall of the Soviet Union, partial KGB and military archives were opened to historians. Among them were fragments of reports mentioning an unrecoverable transport incident on or around June 1945, with indirect references to convoy number 5717. But no incident reports, search documents, or accident files were ever found. Some believe those records were destroyed. Others suggest the incident was simply erased from history to avoid embarrassment or to cover something more sinister. Multiple historians note that the sealed wagons marked special cargo were of interest to high-level NKVD officials. Could the disappearance have involved an internal Soviet power struggle or an unauthorized operation to reroute the valuable cargo? In 1997, a Lithuanian man named Aivaras Petrikauskas, a retired railway worker, told a journalist he remembered hearing about a German transport train that vanished in the forest from older workers in the late 1940s. According to his story, Soviet soldiers blocked off a rural section of track between Vilnius and Vitebsk for several days. Locals were forbidden to approach the area. Another report comes from a former Soviet engineer, Grigory Lobanov, who claimed in a 1983 memoir that a colleague was involved in rerouting a classified convoy to a defunct mine shaft near Smolensk. These accounts were never confirmed, but they fueled theories. Theory 1. The train was diverted to a secret facility and its passengers executed. Theory 2. The German officers staged a revolt with the help of corrupt guards and disappeared into the woods. Theory 3. The entire disappearance was orchestrated to allow high-ranking Soviet officials to keep the stolen cargo for themselves. Despite several unofficial investigations in the 1990s and early 2000s, no physical evidence of train 5717 has ever been found. No wreckage, no human remains, no disturbed tracks. The route it was supposed to follow is now overgrown or rebuilt, and many of the original rail records from that time were either destroyed or never kept. Unlike a commercial passenger train, military transports like 5717 operated under code names, sometimes with no formal registration outside of military logs. This makes one thing disturbingly clear. If the Soviet authorities wanted a train to disappear, they could make it disappear completely. Today, the story of Train 5717 is mostly unknown outside niche circles of military historians and Cold War researchers. But among those who've studied it, the consensus is simple. The disappearance was real, and it wasn't an accident. The missing German officers, the unaccounted art and documents, and the complete lack of evidence suggest this wasn't a mystery of chance. It was a deliberate operation by someone with the power to hide it. Maybe one day, a forgotten rail map, an old diary, or a buried wreck will tell us the full truth. Until then, train number 5717 remains one of the most chilling unsolved disappearances of the post-war Soviet era. If this story left you stunned, you're not alone. These are the hidden cracks in history. Moments erased, twisted, or buried so deep we're left with only questions. What do you think happened to train number 5717? Leave your theory in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more real historical investigations, every story darker than the last.